What's up guys, Kaidom here, and this video is about adding the BR zone with minimap to another project. So the first thing you want to do, of course, is create a new project with the BR zone with minimap, and then open it and right click here and click on migrate. So this should give you the option to migrate this content folder to another project. So simply browse to your own project and select your the content folder and click on select folder, and it should migrate this entire folder to your own personal project. So here we go. I already done it in my test project here, and I have the folder here. So the next step here is to integrate the zone in your custom character and player controller. So go to your world settings here. If you don't see it, you can go to window here, world settings, and here is where you indicate your game mode and default pawn and player controller. So as you can see here, I have my own test player controller and default pawn, which is this third person character, and of course this game mode. So if I open up the player controller here, the test player controller, as you can see, there's nothing. And same here for my player character here. So if I go to open blueprint, as you can see, this is just basic movement that comes with the third person character. So to integrate the zone to our custom character and player controller, the first thing you want to do here is in my custom character. It can be any character. So you want to go to class settings here, and then in interfaces here you want to click on add, then look for zone. So BP zone interface is what you want to do, or add to your player character here. So same thing here for player controller. So let's go ahead and open that. And you want to go to class settings, then add, then also add the BP zone interface and click on compile. So once you do that, you have access to the zone events. So if you right click here and just simply search for zone event or event zone, for example, you have access to zone begin play, damage taken, destroyed, inside and outside. So let's go ahead and add the damage or like inside, and of course the outside as well. Event zone outside. So you can use this event right here to like do something when you're inside or outside. So in this case, we're just gonna go ahead and print a string, and the example character, I have a post processing here that I activate when I'm in or outside the zone. So we can just say in zone, for example, and here we can say out of zone, for example. And of course, for damage, you can simply do event any damage, and this will trigger when you receive damage from the zone. You can also add the event zone damage taken as well. So in the player controller here, we can simply copy paste from the zone player controller here. So if I click on BR zone with minimap, I have the BP zone player controller here, and this is all the logic for adding the widgets and of course handling the zone events. So you can simply select everything, copy, and then paste in your own player controller, and it's gonna say that this is not created. So go ahead and right click here, create variable. And the same thing for overview map. We don't care about this. We don't need. So you can use this to add something to the minimap, an overview map like shown in my previous video. Zone ref as well. Create variable zone ref. Go ahead and compile, and everything should be fine here. So we have access to the health widget here. So if I go to BP zone info, just click on the browse icon there, and I can go here, and as you can see, we have access to this. So what we can do here is we can let's go ahead and close this BP zone player controller. So what we can do here is do a custom event and then do update health. Since this widget exists in the player controller, we can just simply send an event here. So we're gonna use the zone info widget right there, and then do update health. And this is going to take a health. We can just simply drop it over the event, and that will create a pin for us. Of course, the first thing we're going to do is check if this is valid, because this might trigger, like in case we call this in a server. So there you go. So this is our new event to update the health. Now you don't have to do this. If you have your own health widget, etc., you can just control it here from this event any damage. So once we receive damage here, we're gonna like do a health, for example. Since we don't have a health variable, let's go ahead and change it to float here. And then I'm going to do compile, change the default value to 100, and then replication to rep notify. And once this gets updated, I'm going to get player controller, and of course you want to cast to your to the type of your player controller. In this case, it's a test player controller. So I'm gonna go ahead and do cast to test player controller, and I simply do update health. There we go. So this is the event that I created in my test player controller, and I can simply add the health right there. Just go ahead and compile, and now when I take damage, for example, I can just take this health and then do minus, and then that damage right there, and I can set the result to the health. So this one will reduce or take away whatever damage we've taken from the health here, and then I could and since this is updated, of course it is going to trigger the onRep health, and this updates the health in our widget. Now you don't have to do this on rep, like I said. This is just because for this example we don't have a health variable, but you should probably have like some kind of health in your character to control that. So now that we have this, now all we need to do here is just add these zones. So if I go to BR zone with minimap, I have zone folder here, and I can simply drop the zone here right there. As you can see, it's pretty big, so we're going to the details panel here, and I'm going to change the initial scale to something like 5. So that should be fine. Let's go ahead and reduce that even more. So 3, for example, so we can just access it fast. We can just center it here, put it wherever you want. And here you have the steps that you might want to add more or less depending on the size of your map. But for this example, I'm going to set the initial delay to 1 second, and of course the pause time of the first step to 1 second as well, so the zone starts immediately. So I'm gonna go ahead and play and see what happens. So immediately we see the zone there, and we also see the health widget as well as the messages on the up right there on the screen. If I go out, as you can see, it said out of zone, and I'm of course taking damage. Now in zone, the message appear there, and we'll have everything working as expected. Now of course for the minimap here, you're gonna want to go to your player controller and find the overview, zone BP overview, and click on browse, open that up. Like shown in my previous video, you need to get a texture of your map, indicate the width of that texture in the world unit here. In my previous video, we seen how we can capture a new texture for the map using the scene capture, and of course indicate the ortho width, or just simply the width of the of your map here. Of course, since this is a very small map, this doesn't really work for it, so we need to change the texture here and change the map width accordingly. So of course the circle thickness, you can change it here, colors, same thing for the minimap there. So I think that's it for this video. If you have any questions, leave them below or send me an email. So until then, this is Kaidoom signing off.